Hello and welcome to my March wrap-up. I have been gone a minute, if you have noticed, I don't know. I went on holidays for Easter, so I was gone for 2 weeks, and there was a bunch of other stuff also going on, so that is why, if you're wondering. But I'm back again. But even though I did not film much or post anything, I did read a lot during the month of March. I read 7 books, which is pretty great. I had a decent time at the beginning of the month. I was reading really good books, and then at the end of the month it did not go so well, but it's okay. I got a lot of books from my physical TBR out of the way. I also read a few arcs of books that are coming out this month, I think, or have already come out. I don't know, I'll put them on the screen when I talk about them. But let's get straight into the books and what I thought about them. So the first book that I read in March was one of the arcs, which is In the Shadow of a Dream by Maci, Aurora. This is the 3rd book in the Fairview Fairy Tales, I think is the name of the series. And I have read every single book as an arc, which is really cool in my opinion. This year there are 2 books coming out, which is this one and another one, which is, I think, a companion. I don't know if it's actually the 4th book, but it's coming out. I don't remember when. In all of the books we follow this family that has 4 children, which are Tarly, Ori, yeah, I guess, I don't know, Brinna, and Jessamine are the 4 girls, and there's a brother who I've forgotten the name, but I know that his name starts with M. I don't remember. In this book we follow Brinna, who is the youngest of all the siblings, and we follow her romance with a god, as well as the plots from the previous books that are a mystery surrounding that family. I don't want to spoil, so I'm going to keep it kind of vague. In the first 2, Ori falls in love with another god, and in the second one, Tarly falls in love with a king/prince man. Not a god. They're all really fun. They're all adult books. If you're interested, they're very romance heavy with a bit of spice in them. I really enjoy them. I ended up giving this book a 4-star. I just thought that this was very short. It doesn't look very short, but compared to the other 2, it felt very short. We didn't get as much time with the characters. In this book, they share each other's dreams. They can be in each other's dreams, if that makes sense. Kind of like Strange the Dreamer vibes, you know? I wish we got more of that because that was really cool, but we got more of the drama with the family, which I understand, but I kind of wanted more because I really liked the characters. Other than that, it was great, fun read. The only thing I didn't really appreciate was a cliffhanger, but it happens. Next, I read a classic, Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, the shortest book on my TBR. Still an accomplishment in my eyes because I struggle with classics. I don't think I have to explain what this book is about. I hope. I did like it. I gave it a 3. I prefer this story in movie form, I guess, more than the actual book. I enjoyed it more just for the nostalgia's sake. I was obsessed with the Jeremy Sumter live-action version of this movie when I was younger, so I just kept remembering that while reading. But overall, I didn't have a terrible time, so I did like it for the classic that it is, which I usually hate them, so take that with what you will. I think that's the saying. The next 2 books were rereads. I reread the first 2 volumes of Fullmetal Alchemist because I recently bought the rest of the volumes, almost all of them, so I wanted a refresher because I don't remember properly what happened. So I read the first 2. I have until volume 18, I think. I still need to get the last 3 omnibus collection thing books so I can finish this and watch the shows. If you've never heard of this, it is about two brothers, Al and Ed. And when they were young, they lost their mother and they tried to bring her back with alchemy, which is a thing in this book. I'm not going to try and explain it. And it goes terribly wrong and backfires on them. Al loses his entire body and Ed loses an arm, and to bring Al back and have a body and his soul be contained in something, Edward sacrifices another limb, so Al becomes this armor dude and Ed doesn't have an arm or a leg. And we follow them trying to find the answers on how to bring their body parts back, and learning more alchemy and stuff. And we also face a bunch of strange villains, this being one of them. And yeah, that's basically it. I gave the first volume 4.5 again, and the second a 4 again. They're really enjoyable. I really like them. If you like manga that is fantasy, this is really great. The next book that I read was House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland, which follows three sisters that are Gray, Iris, and Vivi. And these three sisters went missing when they were younger, and none of them remembered where they went or what happened to them. And we follow Gray, who is the oldest sister, disappearing again in the current time of this book, and the other two sisters trying to find her and discovering what actually happened to them when they were little. And there's like a supernatural element to the story. I hope that made some sense, because this book didn't make any sense to me. I think the unpopular opinion when it comes to this book, I didn't really like it. I gave it a 2-star. I did really enjoy the concept and the like magical elements or supernatural elements with the flowers and all of that, but it just did not work for me. I thought the plot twists were very predictable and the plot itself was very predictable. I knew what was going to happen at the end, and this says it's horror. I was not horrified. I don't know. I think I'm just very hard to please when it comes to thrillers and horror books. I don't know what it is. It might be an influence from my dad, who has always been the type of person to figure out the plot twists in movies. So maybe I inherited that trait, but I just did not have a good time reading this. It took me a long time to read this for the size of the book. I don't know. It was just not for me. The next book was another mystery thriller horror genre, which is, fun fact, my least favorite genre, or my least read genre, really. I like it, I just don't read it. So I don't know if least favorite is correct. I'm blabbering. I read 6 stories by Matt Wesolowski, which is book 1 of this 6-part series of a book that is formatted like a podcast, centered around someone's death. In this book, we follow the death of a boy at like a summer camp. Tom randomly disappeared one day in the 90s, and a year later, his body was found, and nobody could figure out what happened to him. If it was a murder or he just accidentally died. Nobody found that out, and we follow this podcast. What's the name? What's the word? Bringing back this story to maybe shed some light on it to the people. And they interview all of the people involved. Tom, the victim, was part of this friend group, and the podcast interviews all of them plus some other people. The concept was cool. Again, I really like books with a strange formatting, which is like this, like a podcast, or like Illuminate with weird pages. Whatever it is, I love it. But in this case, that was the only thing that I liked about this. Everything else was not great. I ended up giving it a 2-star as well. I thought the story was very meh, and the plot twist was predictable again. Maybe I'm a genius, I don't know. I thought it was obvious. I don't even know how to explain my thoughts about this. I just did not like it. Moral of the story. I like the format, I don't like the story. last book that I read in March was another arc, which is called The Misdirection of Fault Lines by Ana Garcia. And this book follows 3 points of view, which are 3 girls, Layla, Violetta, and Alice. I remember the names. These 3 girls are competing in this tennis tournament, and they are randomly assigned the same dorm. And we follow each of the girls struggling with their own problems, ranging from anxiety over the game and family issues and racism and drug issues, stuff like that. I ended up giving it a 2. Yeah, I had a miserable time at the end of the month, but whatever. I just didn't care at the end of the day. I was expecting a book about tennis, and I didn't get any tennis. There was like 3 scenes where they actually are playing tennis. I don't know. I was expecting something else, I guess. As I said before, they kept talking about all the problems associated with teen athletes. So like drug problems, having weird relationships with coaches or older people, having a lot of stress over winning the game or you're going to be a disappointment, stuff like that, which is fine, but not what I wanted. I didn't care about the characters. The only one I kind of did was Layla. I thought she was more interesting than the other 2, and she also has like kind of a romance. I don't know, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just thought it was kind of boring, but the cover was really cute. I often pick books by the cover, and I shouldn't do that, but I do. So these books plus the arc were all the books that I read in March. I think I did pretty well. Yes, I did read some very skinny books at the end, but we're gonna ignore that. I feel like this is the most like diverse month I've ever read. I had horror, I had thriller, I had classics, I had graphic novels or manga, I had fantasy, I had contemporary, I had everything. I did pretty well, I think. I don't know. I think that March was my best month so far. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I didn't do too shabby. I could have done better, but it's okay. I don't know what's wrong with me. But that is everything for today, and I'll see you in my next weird video. Bye!